Welcome. Welcome to one of our first live episodes on Secure Your Energy, Building Generational Wealth. And welcome, you're here with your host, Lashley. And this is your same host from Primetime Home Buyers. So if you're part of the Primetime Home Buyers buyback team, welcome. Thank you for following us over to this channel. This is the sister channel. And on this channel, we're going to be talking about a various topics related to real estate, investments, the Black community, especially how we enter the market, how we are treated in the market, how to maneuver in the market, and much more. So, this particular channel, Secure Your Energy, Building Generational Wealth, is dedicated and focused on the Black community. But everybody's welcome. Okay. But at the end of the day, this is what I feel is very important because there's some topics that are being overlooked and we're not being prepared. So we're going to look at it from a social, economic, and just a human perspective. Okay. So today, you know what this topic is about? Yes, it is real estate, how discrimination hurts Black ownership. So I have a few videos to show you tonight, and the videos are not long. It's just one that's probably like 15 minutes. That's towards the end. But what we're going to do is go over a few news broadcasts. All I can do is show you the facts. If I talk from my perspective, some people look at it as, hey, she don't know what she's talking about, whatever. But if the news say it and we see some consecutiveness or some consistency, what we always talk about on primetime home buyers, we're looking for evidence, then we start to see a full picture of what's going on. So we have two major issues, or three major issues that's happening in the housing market. One, inflation. Inflation, the false inflation that has been caused by our current situation and past situation. Two, we also have an eviction inforium or memorandums across the United States that are being slowly but surely stopped or they have expired. And now, the third thing, we have mass evictions happening on top of people not being able to pay the increase based on the inflation of not only the interest rates on loans, but taxes as well. So we got to keep all of this in mind. And we're going to be talking not only from a tax lien investor perspective, but we're going to just talking from a regular human perspective here, guys. So if you followed me from that channel, just know that we're going to be focusing outside of tax liens. We are going to just be focusing on the general aspects of these topics. So let's get it going. We're going to start off by sharing an article that highlights what's going on with Wells Fargo. Okay, so that's the first thing that we need to be aware of because the Wells Fargo issue is going to affect the Black community, and it's already been affecting the Black community based on their behaviors, but it's really going to affect us because at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of options. So when people are put in situations like this, we get the blunt end of it. So Wells Fargo escapes $3 million fair housing suit, but wins its lost aim CFPB payout. What is that? So this is Wells Fargo, but we already know that there is a lot going on. This broadcast is not focused on the banking industry, but we did want to just start by letting you know that something is happening. And we're going to be going into that next week. Okay. So it may be a coincidence or perhaps a mortgage case habitually gets the short end of the news coverage stick. And that's why we're going to talk about it today. Wells Fargo September agreement to pay $94 million to settle class action lawsuit alleging that banks automatically place mortgage borrowers into forbearance if they said they were experiencing financial distress surfaced during the same news cycle as the slightly larger settlement to end a Labor Department probe into the bank alleged 401k misdeeds. Okay, these things are happening to people and people are not able to express themselves because it's happening on an individual basis and it's spread. Okay, so You may know somebody or don't know someone who's going through this, but I want you guys to be aware that some things are happening. So the Wells Fargo a 401 story receives far wider coverage. So it is again. The federal judge in Illinois on Monday granted Wells Fargo summary judgment in the case in which Cook County alleged the bank discriminate against non-white mortgage borrowers during the 2007 to 2008 financial crisis. So even when all of that was happening, because there was major mortgages going out to people, unsecured, people were losing homes. As you can see, us as brown melanated people, we still fell at the bottom of the totem pole. Okay, so we weren't even getting those loans at that time. The ruling means the bank avoids being further dragged into the lawsuit seeking a payout of at least $300 million. It's undeniable a win for the Wells Fargo's because they would have been paying way more. Okay. It just happened to come less than 24 hours before the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau broke news of a record of $3.7 billion settlement with the bank over a lengthy of unsavory practices. $3.7 billion. Okay. So if you have accounts in Bank of America, I just need you guys to be aware. Talk to your lenders, talk to the people who work at Wells Fargo, and make sure you have open dialogue because your money in there. So in the Illinois case, U.S. District Judge Gary Furman excluding testimony from two witnesses, Cook County leaned on to support it with claims that Wells Fargo and Wachovia. I knew it. You know what? I was just telling my mother, this is the article. I knew it. This is the article. I was like, Mom, it's Wells Fargo and Wachovia. And I didn't put two and two together. Here we go. A bank is acquired engaging in equity stripping during the 2007-2008 financial crisis. By that process, bank offered bad loans and then symphony value until borrowers are pushed into foreclosure. The judge agreed with Wells Fargo that the opinion of Gary Lacefield, a financial compliance consultant, were inadmissible because he doesn't meet the qualification of an expert. So basically, they were trying to just put somebody in there to speak up for Wells Fargo and say that, hey, this is the right practices, da da da. And the judge said, no, that's not an expert. So I just wanted to start off by showing you that article. We're going to leave the article in the description so you can read it yourself and you can get an understanding of what's starting to unfold. We're also going to leave it in the description. So moving forward. So now we want to get into Houston family files lawsuit against alleged facing. I'm sorry. Let's do it one more time. This is my second live. Houston family files lawsuit after allegations of facing housing discrimination. I gotta get it together, huh? We'll be all right. We'll be all right. This is my first live. I hope you guys do come back, and I hope you guys like and subscribe because we're going to give you the news that people aren't going to give you. We're going to give you the news that they don't want to talk about, but we're going to talk about it here. So let's get into this video. We're going to be getting into New York and a few other places, but let's start with Houston. Let's see what's going on in Houston right now. And this was about 4 months ago, okay? Can you see it? Here we go.
They were refused a chance to buy not one, but 3 condominiums because of the color of their skin. Isaiah Carey has been working on this report now for a week and has a preview of his exclusive you'll see tonight at 10:30 on The Factor Uncensored.
James Amari and his wife wanted to buy 3 condo units at a building in Katy. The couple said they were able and willing to buy on the spot, but the real estate agent refused to sell to them, saying that they would not get along according to the lawsuit. Why? Well, in that lawsuit filed against the agent and Remax, the family says because they are Black and the condos are in mainly an Asian community in Katy.
This Remax agent told them that she felt uncomfortable with selling to them in this condominium community.
Now, really quick, let's bring James into this conversation, Justin. James, when she said she didn't feel comfortable selling to you and your family in this condominium community, did she say specifically race, or she just didn't feel comfortable?
No, she said verbatim, quote, "My gut feeling tells me that you and I wouldn't get along. I wouldn't get along with you or your family. That's what my gut feeling tells me," quote unquote. So at that moment, I had concerns myself.
And really quick, with the viewer watching this, they would think, okay, this is a white community, but it's not. It's an Asian community.
Asian community. And Isaiah, it's important to note that there's marketing documents surrounding that community that specifically is asking for people from Asian and Chinese descent to buy into this community, which is another violation of the Fair Housing Act. You cannot have marketing documents that only target a specific community.
Now, we began reaching out to the agent, Josie Lynn, and Remax's corporate headquarters earlier this week. We heard back from Remax saying Josie hasn't been affiliated with their firm in over a year. Meanwhile, an attorney for Lynn says they have not been served with any lawsuit as of yet, and if it has been filed, they will defend it once it is properly served. The attorney went on to say they will not comment on pending litigation. And of course, we will have more for you on the Factor Uncensored tonight at 10:30.
All right. Shout out to this Factor Uncensored. You have been keeping me up on some things. Blessings to you. And what this goes to say, you can see plain and simple why this couple allegedly wasn't able to buy this condominium. Okay. Our money is not green enough. Sometimes it is what it is. In this situation, you can see that their money was not green enough. First and foremost. Secondly, we're starting to see a level of people being so bold, very bold, to be able to come out and say, oh, I don't think that I'm going to like you or nothing that you stand for. This is just the start of our broadcast. And what we're going to show you is a pattern of this behavior. We're going to show you a pattern of this behavior. And this behavior is going to basically highlight exactly what's going on across the whole United States. This isn't a game. Okay. So I need you guys to be aware of this. No matter what area you are in the United States or outside Black America, you need to be aware that this possibly can happen to you. Many of us are walking around with the concept that we are on even playing ground. And we're going to continue to show you that there's many incidents that we have to be aware of. Know what's the chains of command, allegedly, to report these people, because if we don't, these actions are going to keep on going. Now, this was just an example. And this was an example of a Chinese community. So I don't want y'all to say that it's only one group of people. And I don't want you guys to think that everybody hates us. But there is a tone that goes on towards us. And we need to be aware of it and stop really being naive. We have to stop being naive. And that's why we're doing this broadcast, because there's no room to be naive. Okay. So we're going to move on into our next proof of fact. And this one is another 2-minute video, but this one is not brought to you by Houston, Texas. I believe this one is in, hold on. I'm trying to figure out what state this is, because there was so many states I pulled up. I was like, yeah, this is fun. This one is New York. Okay, so we're going to go in New York and show the housing discrimination in New York. So this is a full broadcast dedicated to this. Thank you who is logging in from Secure Your Energy. We're broadcasting on 2 pages tonight and 2 Facebooks, because this is what we're going to be doing on Monday nights after our primetime home buyers. All right, so racism in real estate, how discrimination, no, that's not the one. This one. All right, housing discrimination lawsuit filed against. Let's get it going.
A lawsuit has been filed against some of the biggest names in real estate. Notable firms like Corcoran and Century 21 are accused of illegally discriminating against some low-income tenants with housing vouchers. CBS 2's Hazel Sanchez has details.
For years, Nancy Padilla struggled to escape the shelter system because she says landlords and brokers discriminated against her for applying for an apartment with a Section 8 housing choice voucher.
Even though I was qualified and passed the background check and the credit check, and after paying so much apartment application fees, once they saw the voucher, it was a stop sign, no go further.
And Padilla is far from alone. A one-year undercover investigation by the Housing Rights Initiative, or HRI, found 88 landlords and brokers, including notable firms like Compass Inc., Corcoran Group, and Century 21, refused to rent apartments to New Yorkers using rental assistance vouchers. HRI undercover investigators recorded hundreds of phone calls, presenting themselves as prospective tenants with Section 8 vouchers.
So it's pretty nice. The only thing is the landlord is picky as hell.
I wanted to ask too. I have a voucher, a Section 8 voucher.
Not a hope in hell.
HRI found in nearly 50% of cases, real estate professionals illegally refuse to rent to voucher holders.
For context, 82% of New Yorkers with housing choice vouchers are Black and Hispanic. So when you discriminate against tenants with rental assistance, you discriminate against tenants of color.
The Legal Aid Society and HRI's attorneys filed suit against those firms, calling on them to comply with the Fair Housing Act and human rights laws and make apartments available to voucher holders.
I hope this lawsuit can stop anyone else from having to experience what I experienced.
We reached out to several of the real estate companies named in the lawsuit. No one responded to our request for comment. On the Upper West Side, Hazel Sanchez, CBS 2 News.
CBS right. You heard it here in the CBS 2 News. This was in March. This was March 2021. Don't think that this was 2 years ago, that this is not real. So not only do you have to worry about it on a loan level, dealing with loans, dealing with actually going to purchase the property, but when people feel secure, independent on government vouchers, oh, yeah, I got my Section 8. I'm going to be good. I know a lot of people who have having trouble transferring their Section 8 from state to state because it's applied differently. So the funding that you may get here, you may not get there. So you got to keep that in consideration. You also want to keep in consideration how the Section 8 is applied from state to state, because you may be qualified for a 2-bedroom here, and based on the money, qualified for a 1-bedroom here. But then you have another aspect to think about. She literally came out and said, no way in hell, no way in hockey sticks is that going to happen. And that's how bold people are. And this is about 2 years ago. And now, people are really more emboldened. So we have to pay attention to this. So if you have issues like this that goes on, you want to contact the Fair Housing Commission, as well as the Better Business Bureau. Start communications through the Better Business Bureau, putting it on a public platform. Federal Trade Commission, get them to start to research your concerns. Even if you're not sure if your concerns is real concerns, ask questions. Don't be afraid, because there are things that's going on that are being swept under the rug. And as long as we don't document it, then it's not going to be addressed. Okay, so that was number 2. The next one I want to show you. Let me make sure. So this is actually December 2022 NYC Council hearing today on housing discrimination. So this is going to be the next video that we show you. This broadcast is going to be like 30 to 40 minutes because we want to just start to introduce you to this segment. We may be showing it too on Uncensored Enlightenment Talk, as well as Secure Your Energy. Shout out to the Facebook group. Research or Die, as well as the Facebook group Secure Your Energy and Facebook group Primetime Home Buys. We streaming live on all of them, and I appreciate you guys for being here. So now we're gonna go into our next. Let's see what happens at this council meeting.
Today, a city council committee will hold a hearing on a plan that would bar landlords from considering a potential tenant's criminal past.
Lawmakers will also hold a rally in support of a Fair Chance for Housing Act. CBS News' Elijah Westbrook is live outside City Hall in Lower Manhattan with the details for us. Elijah.
That's right. Well, Mary and Chris, that rally you were just mentioning will begin at 9 a.m. right in front of City Hall here. And, you know, advocates say that there are thousands of tenants citywide who have been discriminated against because of this very issue. And now is the time to make that change. Just go ahead and take a look.
Still happening.
The bill would make it illegal for New York City landlords to factor in an individual's criminal record when considering tenants, except they say for registered sex offenders. Right now, landlords and brokers are allowed to deny housing on the basis of a criminal background. Supporters pushed to change the law last year, but many landlords and tenants were able to stop it. Supporters against the move say background checks, well, are important.
In a nutshell, it's putting criminal privilege over resident safety. I think most council members will admit that there are certain categories of criminality that put other residents at risk, such as gun possession, registered sex offender, arson, drug dealing.
Now, Manhattan Councilmember Keith Powers and others, of course, disagree with that and are hoping to change this issue. These advocates say that they have a majority, 29 council members who support the legislation, hoping to get it passed this term. We should mention that today's city council hearing is expected to begin at 10 a.m. We're live right now in Lower Manhattan. Elijah Westbrook, CBS 2 News.
Elijah, thank you.
All right. So as you can see, that is Channel 2 CBS News, and this is December 8th, 2022, which is like a month ago. So I just want you guys to know that this is still going on, and I showed this to let y'all know that it's probably an update and continuation to the issues that New York is having. Now there's two sides to look at this. I'm going to be honest, because at the end of the day, you know, us as business owners, real estate owners, you want to have a safe home that you can provide for families, yourself. I think it is very important to do a background check to a certain level. And I never had a background check done in Newark, but I know if some people who lived in Newark got a background check, they may not have homes. You know, especially when you're considering drug charges. That's a touchy issue, because sometimes people are in situations where they were put in those situations. Not saying that they went and did it, but meaning like it was planted on them. They caught charges that they wasn't supposed to, and it ruined their whole life. So it's really a touchy situation. But when it comes to ex-offenders, murderers, I'm going to say it has to be evaluated, because it's not just Black people who go to jail for these things. There's all nations, and there's level to rehabilitation as well. So just because you did something when you was 19 doesn't mean when you're 40, you shouldn't be able to get a home, or you shouldn't be able to rent. So that's a really touchy situation. And when they're putting policies together like that, that's when the people need to come to the table like they're doing, not just protesting, but coming up with documents and a plan to say, okay, if you want to implement this background check, this is how we're going to meet in the middle. This is what the community feel comfortable with. We don't want to have to live in this community. And I think the community wants to be safe. That's very important. But then they know we don't want our uncle or our auntie locked out of the market because of an unfortunate situation years ago, or or whatever, especially when it comes to stereotyping. So this is a touchy situation, and I wanted to share with you guys, because people don't know that these things go on right in front of you. They're making these decisions right in front of you. You should go to the council meetings. You should go to your local council meetings to see what's going on. Find out what's going on in your kids' school board meetings if you have them in school. You know, we homeschool over here. But if you do, you need to be well-rounded on their practices, the education criteria, their expectations, how they're elevating it, how they're troubleshooting. And if they don't have that going on, move on. Move on fastly. So when we're looking at these topics, we're just going to kind of talk from an abstract way, because there's no, yes, do this. Everybody needs this. Everybody needs that. No, even with the topic of the gun license, very, very touchy subject. But then you don't want a psychopath to have a gun. So it's levels to this. And because we have a system that don't want to take the time to put in details, that's why we here. We do details. Everybody else hate it. I don't care. We doing details here. Primetime home buyer family, you know what we do. We on it. But the details of setting up bills, paying attention to it. What do you want, people? What do you want in your community? How much do you want the rent to be able to be hiked every 5 years? You should have a say so. So you have to go through these avenues. And it's not just your councilman. Excuse me. You guys, you, me, Joe Blow, can actually put a bill together and present it to our councilmen, present it to people who in authority to review it and maybe get it moved up to chains of command. Not only them make bills, but because people don't want to do it and we don't take the time and we put it in the hands of our councilmen who bought and paid for, and not by us, because they say, yeah, we're working for you, the taxpayers. That tax money going somewhere else. They're working for the people who fund their campaign. And if you didn't do it, you're not one of them. Moving forward. Now, we're going to get into another article before we get into our last one. Housing discrimination cases cause generational wealth gaps between white and Black America. This was brought to you by CBS News. And we not said CBS like 3 times. CBS doing their damn thing. I'm going to just keep it real. CBS trying to keep it real. All right, so we're going to watch this one. I'm not going to watch the whole full 11 minutes, but as y'all know, I'll fill in the description by the morning or tonight if I have the energy. But y'all have all the videos. Y'all watch it yourself. So we're going to watch about 5 minutes of it so you can understand how the process of the discrimination strips the generational wealth from us. This is the truth. I already told Uncensored Enlightenment Talk, we're going to be hitting y'all hard in February. So y'all know we had our little meltdown. Primetime home buyers don't know about that. But yeah, I had to come into Jesus on my other platform because of certain information that I find that is very important that we should get out. And me, as a brown melanated person that have studied a lot and really love what I do, really love to learn, really love to teach, really feel like I'm severely censored. So I'm grateful for you guys even being here, watching, listening, trying to grow, heighten the conversation, because we can laugh, joke. Y'all gonna see me on Celebrity Topics doing those things, but we're gonna talk about this right here. And we're going to talk about it from a higher level. Let's go. I hope y'all hear it.
Legacy in the United States. The restrictions on people of color from purchasing property have denied entire generations lasting wealth.
Yeah.
But the controversial practice of selecting neighbors by race or class is not in the distant past. It is not. Less than 5 decades ago, CBS followed one Black couple's failed journey to buy a home in New Jersey. And Tony Decopo recently spoke to their daughter and filed this report.
My hometown, terrible.
And that's the end of a fairly busy day on the New York Stock Exchange.
1964 was a record-breaking boom year for the U.S. economy, and CBS followed along as one young couple tried to buy their piece of it.
His name is Corbett Rochelle. Since last July, he and his wife Sally have visited many real estate offices like this one.
The Rochelles knew exactly what they wanted, a 4-bedroom home in Bergen County, New Jersey, one of New York City's most desirable suburbs. And as it happens, the very same place where my grandfather had found a home just a decade earlier.
The Rochelle search began in the usual way with the local newspaper.
But as Corbett and Sally visited real estate offices and asked to see properties, they ran into a problem my grandfather did not.
Well, I have to call him and tell him that you are colored.
As CBS documented in this rare hidden camera footage, the Rochelle's were repeatedly turned away.
So what do you have that you can show me today? Nothing in this price range. Nothing at all.
And in case there was any doubt about the exact nature of this problem, CBS cameras also documented what happened when white home buyers were sent in to ask about the very same properties.
Let's take a ride. I'll take you over to one we have in the development and show you that.
What the Rochelle's experienced was a practice known as steering, a way of excluding black buyers from white neighborhoods. Prior to the Fair Housing Act of 1968, it wasn't only common, but legal, and very often life-changing. So to find out what happened to the Rochelle's and how it compared to the experience of families like my own, we tracked down Corbett and Sally's only child, Alicia, only 11 at the time, and asked her to rewatch that original report.
Not wanted.
It wasn't always easy.
I've wondered often as I've gone from one real estate agency to the other, if people realize the many embarrassing situations and questions that you have to go through as a Negro, sometimes even humiliating.
Do you recognize that expression on your father's face?
Yeah, it's disgust. Yeah.
Bear with me, because it's about to show us a commercial, guys. Yeah, that bothered me just to watch that myself. Because at the end of the day, we know that this is really happening. Let's get back to it.
Find the house?
No. We moved out of New Jersey.
Your family spent at least 6 months and up to several years with plenty of money looking to buy a home in Bergen County, New Jersey, and never did.
No. No, he sure didn't.
What that means is the Rochelle's missed out on one of the biggest real estate booms in the country.
That's like
home prices in Bergen County have jumped as much as 6-fold, even after correcting for inflation. For families like mine who were able to make the investment, that money has helped pay for everything, from my grandparents' retirement to Florida to the travel I did as a college student.
Push that top one over.
For Alicia and her own 3 kids, that kind of generational cushion just was not available.
There wasn't a whole lot planned for them. They had no insurance. It was,
Did you say your parents died with no money?
No money.
They had to spend it to survive.
Wow.
And it's really sad, but it is what it is.
You see what we got to do?
With the fact that
toughen up.
This house that they could not buy in Bergen County is almost definitely worth $750,000 or even $1 million today. And your family doesn't have it because of nothing more than racism.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that we haven't had because of racism.
Yeah.
The house is just a very small part of it.
That's a lot of money, though.
It may be, but money's not everything.
So when you think of this whole story,
the dignity,
and you think of your folks here who had all the money they needed to buy a home in one of the hottest housing markets in the country and were denied only because of the color of their skin, what kind of story is this?
I don't know. It's a story of our country.
Thank you.
And joining us now to talk about this is Tony Decopo. So Tony,
all right, before Tony go in, this is literally 6 more minutes of this, and I'm gonna let y'all watch this yourself. But this really hurts me. It hurts me because I have lived this, not with my family, and a lot of you have as well. Literally being locked out of markets. If they were able to buy a home in Bergen County, Jersey, at that time, it'd have been far worth how much they really originally invest. And as he explained, people don't see the connection between having real estate and building equity, being able to sell it, flip it, buy another house, take that equity, maybe go put it in your kids' college saving, allow them to be okay through college, like he said, and then have another house to build up equity and do it again, or possibly take equity out that house and purchase another home. Or in our case, we get in tax liens and tax deeds. That's a whole nother thing. But this is how generational wealth is built. And this is how we lose that gain and that function and that ground because of these acts of prejudice, these acts of racial discrimination that I have found is passive. Passive. They didn't say, get out of here, you jigger, you don't belong here. No, it's not available. No, that's out of your price range. And I will say this, myself, everybody thought, oh, travel nurse, you're so rich. They don't care. Your money's not green everywhere. So when I first moved to Georgia, I was looking to see what area I was going to live in when I was transferred to the Atlanta area from Columbus. And I started to look into Marietta, Georgia. And the first thing that I noticed was not only when I went looking for homes and rentals, because I was renting at the time, I was being followed by the popo. I was being followed by the police. Literally, little old me, I had dreadlocks, but they was up into a ponytail with my nursing uniform. And I always kept my nursing badge in the window so I could get a pass sometimes. No. Follow me. Okay? Second thing where I knew that area wasn't good for me, especially my Black son coming from North New Jersey. I had to pick and choose what area would be safe. Not just, oh, I got money, I'm going to go there. Safe. So I called. I'm looking for apartments. Oh, I'm a single mother. I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I'm looking for a 3-bedroom. Oh, yeah, we have 3 bedrooms, but it only have 1 bathroom. It's not going to be good for you. Excuse me? What do you mean? Oh, yeah, this is not going to be good for you, this, that, and third. And then you have to have this amount of income, this, that, and third. Oh, first and foremost, I had to go pull a card and say, I'm a travel nurse. I got some money. But that's beside the point. Who are you to tell me how many bathrooms I need and what we comfortable with? Is there a state regulation that says if I have 2 kids that I have to have 2 bathrooms? Because I didn't say I had a Section 8 voucher because there's requirements for that. No shots fired, but it's the truth. So they find any which way. And once I heard that, I was like, oh, no. No problem, ma'am. I'm good. I was followed in the area by cops with my nursing uniform on. And then you're going to tell me after I keep calling these different places, I'm getting these crazy excuses. That was the last excuse. So I found a place that was more diverse. And I was able to settle down and to know that my son can walk the street without being harassed too. Because once you move to these areas that we are supposedly not supposed to be in, then we are harassed. And I need you guys to be aware of that. So I'm going to share that link with y'all. If y'all want to see it in the comments, it'll be there. And then if y'all don't see it in the comments, it'll be in the description tomorrow. Because tonight when I get off of this, I'm going to bed. This is my second live tonight, and I've been working really hard. So anybody who's on the buyback team, you already know what we've been doing. We've been getting it in. Tax liens and tax deeds. Now we're going to get to our last video that I want to show you. And this is going to break down in more detail, just like how that did, how racism in real estate hurts Black ownership. Let me see why that did this. It's weird. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure that when I put it on the screen, it's not a commercial. Okay. I appreciate you guys who are here with me. If y'all hear from any other platforms that I put this up on, this is all for information and educational and entertainment purposes only. I'm going to try to make these broadcasts on Monday night as entertainment as possible, but we can't be entertained all the time because we got to just be prepared. And I want you guys to really, really know what's going on. These things are happening now. There are over 1,400 foreclosures that's about to be processed in the state of Georgia. No cap. You know, my mother said that word today. My mother said no cap. She got my nephew there. I said, this old lady said no cap. She made me say it. Baby, old people in the building. I'm cracking jokes. All right, let's get to this last video. This video is about a 16-minute video. Y'all won't be watching the full thing with me tonight. We're already 40 minutes into the broadcast. But you got to listen. Listen, people. And listen, my buyback team. There's a reason why I'm sharing this with you. So, hold on. Y'all know what we're about to do? Do you know what time it is? It's going to be a word. Oh, shoot. I can't even give you a word from my sponsors. Because guess what I did? I ain't even upload a word from my sponsors. Bad. They like, girl, get to the broadcast. Get to the broadcast. Nope. I have to give you our word from my sponsors because at the end of the day, the sponsors is the one that takes care of us. We don't ask you to donate, but we do ask you to get in the tax lien game. We need you guys to learn how to get into the real estate market through the back door. And the only reason why we're saying this and we teach this, because you see that there's some changes that's going on right now in the market, and you may not be able to handle it. And when a lot of us are locked out the market and you can't get a home loan because your credit is low, because you got one delinquency that cut it down, or you haven't been employed for a while, we're teaching you another way to get in the market. You save a little bit of money, you budget yourself, and you get your booty to the tax lien and tax deed sale. Okay? So this is going to be brought to you by Primetime Home Buyers.
Would you like to learn a brand new and innovative way to invest your extra money that has a low barrier to entry and low competition? What if I told you that it is a guaranteed method to get up to 18 to 20% return on your investment? Tax lien and deed purchasing is the only way to get into the real estate market through the back door. No credit and no loans needed. This method isn't commonly taught, and therefore the competition is very low, for now. Put together a 14-hour info-packed course which will teach you everything you'll need to know to get started. Learn at your own pace, step-by-step guided video and aids to start you on the TLC deed investment process. The course offers many learning tools for new investors, helping ensure you safely invest in tax liens and deeds. Contact us today and join the buyback team.
It's our mother company. It is what it is. I promise you, it'll help you. Now let's get to our last video. And this video is going to put the icing on a cake. And I'm going to be able to say, I told y'all so. They're going to be like, girl, shut up. It is what it is. We all learn.
Western Washington has a long history of racism affecting home ownership. Thousands of real estate documents show neighborhoods founded using blatant racist language.
Lots shall not be sold, nor rented or leased to any person not of the white race.
Wow.
And predatory behavior is still happening today.
They feel like, oh, these Black families are going to lose their house the minute that somebody passes away, and let me be the first one to jump in and stake my claim.
All of it impacting Black families' ability to own homes. King 5's Facing Race team pulls back the layers of inequity and bias in the real estate industry.
There's all these tactics that they use to try to scare you to feel like you are not able to stay in your land.
And shows the lengths that some families have to go to get a fair deal.
Live somewhere scenic and charming. Established in 1930, Seattle's Lake Ridge neighborhood, advertised as the most outstanding single residential development in all the Northwest. A place where today, the neighborhood hasn't changed much, even 100 years later.
I can't live with you.
George Carter plays in a regular pickup pickleball game at the Lake Ridge playfield.
Oh my God.
So does Nicholas Wynn. They love living in this part of Seattle, but that would not have been possible when this area was developed.
Said lots or lots shall not be sold, will rent it or lease to any person not of the white race.
Wow.
Nor shall any person not of the white race be permitted to occupy any lots.
Wow.
This land shall never be occupied, sold, or given to Negroes or any person or persons of the Negro blood. Not of the white race be permitted to occupy any portion except a domestic servant.
Okay, I can be a butler. For decades, so-called restrictive or protective homeowner agreements, sometimes detailed in the fine print, but not always hidden, were outlawed in the 1960s. They are not enforceable today, but they remain on the books.
I'm angry. I don't know about you.
I don't feel very good about it. I grew up in the South, so not too much surprised me.
Born in Mississippi, Carter, now 78, will never forget Jim Crow laws.
You can't drink out their fountain, and you can't go to their bathroom, or you can't sit nearby your food. Go to the restaurant, you go to the back door and buy your food.
You remember that?
Oh, yes. I grew up with it.
The retired Seattle firefighter moved to the Northwest, hoping he'd be treated better.
I don't even think they have something like this in Mississippi.
These racial restrictive covenants were used as a tool of segregation.
Graduate students from the University of Washington and Eastern Washington University are heading up a state-funded project to examine homeowner agreements and neighborhood restrictions, looking for racist language. Like the Bellevue development originally sold only to members of the Aryan race, or a section in the heart of Capitol Hill prohibiting residents of Negro blood.
Something you find today might end up as a dot on this map.
There are so many documents to go through. The students are training volunteers, extra sets of eyes, to help sift through the old records.
I just found one, two actually.
Rachel Brown at Seattle's Davis Wright Tremaine law firm.
This contract is not assignable to any Asiatic or colored person without the written consent of the vendors.
Is one of the 600 volunteers helping expose secrets of the Northwest's past.
It's incredibly difficult to really see, systemic racism playing out in these documents that are in front of me on my screen.
The official practice of segregation promoted by the federal government, state governments, that's part of our history as much as it's part of Mississippi's history.
University of Washington history professor James Gregory started the research in 2005. Since then, his students and volunteers have found more than 25,000 properties with racial restrictions in Western Washington so far.
Most of the records are still on microfilm, and that's hard. That takes eyeballs and hours hours of looking through reels and reels of microfilm for these restrictions. So we're a long way from finishing with some counties.
The state funding runs out next summer. Professor Gregory says he plans on returning to Olympia to try to get the project fully funded. The bill's original sponsor, Representative Javier Valdez, says this work is long overdue, and he will push to get additional funding when lawmakers return here next January.
We owe it to our fellow citizens not to waltz through life ignorant about inequalities that still matter. That come from history but still matter.
We can't forget our past.
George Carter could not have lived in the place he calls home today. That angers him, but he says it's not surprising. All his life, whether in the South or the Northwest, he's felt like he was on the outside looking in.
People up here, they camouflage it. People in the South, they don't. That's the difference. You know where you stand. Up here, people laugh in your face and stab you in the back.
I just said that.
Owning a home can be hard.
When I got the house, it was like, Keisha, don't you lose that house.
For Keisha Credit, keeping her home was even harder.
What is that? My grandpa was super cool. He always wanted to do videos.
Well, you got it.
2 years ago, Keisha's grandfather passed away and left her his Central District home. It had been in their family for half a century.
Getting his house means that he's not here, and doing this without him was one of the hardest things I ever did.
The day after her grandfather's funeral, she received the first of many letters that were persistent and predatory.
The next day comes a letter saying, we want to buy your house.
She says they offered her $800,000. That's low in a neighborhood neighborhood where some homes are selling for up to $3 million.
They thought that she was dumb. And that's what happens a lot in our community because they feel that people are not educated about researching about the housing market. And then they'll give you lowball offers. And here you go. We end up being undersold and cut out of the market and miss out on the generational wealth. I just wanted to add that. Let's get back to it. I'm glad she didn't take the 800,000. That happened to my family, and they took the low blow money. But it is what it is. Because when someone passes away, there's a lot of stress, and then people are not educated in that market, and you're stressed. You have someone you love that died. You have this big valuable property. It's always just a hot mess.
So the business coach and entrepreneur turned to TikTok to share her experience.
They feel like, oh, these Black families are going to lose their house the minute that somebody passes away, and let me be the first one to jump in and stake my claim. Not realizing that some of us know what's going on, and we are not telling.
She's teaching others to spot the same scams and tricks used to push people of color into selling their homes.
Thank you.
There's all these tactics that they use to try to scare you to feel like you are not able to stay in your land.
But those lowball offers were just the beginning. Soon, Keisha's mailbox was full of legitimate-looking collection notices, claiming she was behind on her property tax or owed money to the IRS.
When I started to get letters, I looked into it because I'm like, whoa, how did that happen? Was there something I missed? And then that's when I understood, like, wait a minute. This is not real. Their goal is to either get you into a terrible loan, sign over your house.
It's basically fraud,
Yep,
right? I
it's
mean,
fraud.
this is completely misleading information.
Dr. Angelique Davis is a professor of political science and African American studies at Seattle University.
These are very predatory practices. We've seen the effects of that with gentrification.
Keisha knows what losing the home would cost her in the long run.
Yes.
So to think that we can sell now, get something, go somewhere else, and continue to multiply that, the opportunities are very low.
Once that wealth is washed away, it's not easy to start over.
My room was up top in the attic.
Just ask Katisha Atterbury.
A lot of nostalgia.
This house in Rainier Beach was her family home, purchased by her grandparents in the 1960s.
Growing up, it was fun. There were a lot of Blacks in this neighborhood. It just brings back a lot of memories.
Those memories dried up when Katisha was a freshman in high school. She says her parents got a predatory loan they couldn't pay back, and that changed the course of her life.
The house went into foreclosure. I had plans to go to the UW, join the gymnastic team, and then go to the Olympics. That was my plan. And then with the loss of the home, that threw me off that course. I had to stay at my cousin's house, couch surfing, and that lasted for many years.
Data from real estate experts show when it comes to buying a home, the cards are stacked against Black families from the get-go. It can take an average Black household nearly 30 years to save for a down payment. Compared to white borrowers, African Americans are 2.5 times more likely to be rejected for a loan. That's partly because Black families are more likely to have debt that banks see as risky for approving loans.
I mean, it's just like these double, triple layers of racism that are happening. Not only are you paying more for a home that's being valued at less, and then you're not able to use that to help leverage to build more wealth for you and your family.
Almost 2 decades and still have not been able to regain this.
15 years after losing her childhood home, Katisha is now a real estate developer, helping other Black families buy homes.
There's so many barriers. When you hear people say, lift yourself up by your bootstraps, what they're not taking into account is the historic implications of being a person of color in this country.
Back in the Central District,
You guys think that it is not real that people come after your property when you got something, you got another thing coming.
Keisha's videos have reached millions.
So the sentiments that I receive are, I'm so proud of you because we lost our family home.
She's hoping to turn the tide.
But you better figure out how you can win. And then when you figure out how to win, you better have other people win too.
By helping Black families navigate the challenges of buying a home while she fights to keep her own.
That's the reason why I felt it worth it to save this. It's not just about your home as a place to stay. It is a generational opportunity. So you better fight for it because it matters.
Lights, camera, action. You have like one of those like paper things that's like, that goes
I do actually.
Quiet on the set.
Action.
Action. When is breakfast getting ready?
That's about it.
In the Clark home, kitchen conversations sizzle in life lessons, handed down from father to son.
Generational wealth is property or money that you pass down for generations to come.
Even at just 10 years old, Jackson knows.
Okay.
Dreams are free, but wealth takes work.
I'm sorry, I'm smiling here. I'm
The
all
first
like,
step, setting down roots. It's been 4 years since the Clarks bought this Columbia City home.
The homes are selling for over $1 million.
I'll go rinse this off.
Okay.
But while the Clarks were renovating,
Put in a new kitchen.
a home appraiser sent by their mortgage company told them the value of their home had gone down.
My agent asked me, how was the appraisal? I was like, oh, it came in really
A
low. He's
lot.
like, oh, what was it, 800, 900,000? And I'm like, no, it was in the sixes.
$670,000 to
Lie.
be exact.
It was quite amazing to have an appraisal that low in this neighborhood.
Earlier this year, Seattle real estate prices hit record highs. So Joe's appraisal seemed questionably low. According to Zillow data, the typical home value in Joe's neighborhood this spring was over $900,000.
I just want to make sure that we get the fair market value for the home.
So Joe staged an experiment. He scheduled a second appraisal and asked his white neighbor, Marta Ewell, to be his stand-in.
The objective was to see if you had a person that was not someone of color in the house change the amount that he got for the appraisal to see if there was some kind of bias there.
Here we have the African art. I took these down as well.
Joe began the process of what he calls whitewashing his home.
This one here is a picture of my grandparents. It's a picture of my daughter at Christmas time. I took them down for the second appraisal.
And this time, when the new appraiser came weeks later, they saw Marta's white face instead of Joe's. The second appraisal came back over $300,000 higher than the first one.
We got the lower price and the neighbor got a higher price than what the house is worth.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
That's a good thing or bad thing?
that's a bad thing for us.
Yeah.
I was mad that we had to go through that
He didn't
in
even
order
know.
to get him
He didn't
the
even tell
appraisal
his
that
kid
was
what
in
he
line
going
with what
through.
the rest of the neighborhood has.
It is part of our systematic racism that we have here in America.
We took a closer look into the differences between the two appraisals to find out how they could be so far apart.
It's taken away our generational wealth.
We know appraisals are largely based on what similar homes in the area have sold for,
Thank you.
but
There's no set standard of what that is. Where they draw those lines differ.
and that can be a problem. Dr. Junia Howell is an urban sociologist and race scholar who studies home appraisal disparities across the country.
Am I surprised by this case? I've seen a lot of them. They're not an anomaly.
Take a look at Joe's first low appraisal from April. To assess the value, the appraiser chose comparable or similar homes that had sold up to 2 miles away for around $600,000 over the previous 6 months. Now look at Joe's second appraisal. It took into account some homes nearby sold for more than $1 million, including the home right next door to Joe's. Using that critical context to compare, the second appraisal was $300,000 higher.
Homes in communities of color are worth 70% less on average when holding everything else constant as homes in white neighborhoods. It's really insane.
That disparity adds up. A recent study by the Brookings Institute found the appraisal differences amounted to roughly $48,000 per home, or $156 billion cumulatively in majority Black neighborhoods.
Because our Black and brown families' homes are often devalued, they're often taken away from us.
Joe and his family are navigating a system that is deeply rooted in documented racist rhetoric. Appraisal manuals from the 1930s all the way to the 70s had perpetuated the belief that race was linked to value. Look at this manual from 1946. They ranked, in their words, Negroes and Mexicans at the bottom of this list of who brings value to a neighborhood. At the top, white Europeans.
That's racist and historically deeply problematic and contemporarily affecting real people's lives in ways that we can collectively push against and say we want and we demand better.
Such discrimination became illegal under the Fair Housing Act of 1968. But while the manuals may have changed, the diversity of the people determining home values hasn't. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, 96.5% of appraisers are still white.
We have to have those conversations about race that most other white families do not have to have.
He wants me to be successful in life.
We're fighting for the next generation.
For Joe, that means not worrying if the color of his skin will impact the value of what he can pass down to his kids.
So I wouldn't have to struggle or minimize those struggles as a black man in America.
Nice.
All right, I'm gonna stop there. I hope this really impacts you. This made me mad. It made me smile. It almost made me cry. It's real. And we're going to show you this on Mondays on Uncensored Enlightenment Talk, because you know what we're doing there. Also on Secure Your Energy, which is our sister YouTube channel to Primetime Home Buyers. I want to thank the buyback team for coming and finding me on this channel. I love you. I want to say thank you to Uncensored Enlightenment Talk, because that's more about high volume, hot topics. So if you're able to get on this level on Mondays with us, where we're getting a little bit serious, very serious, we're here for it. So I love you guys. Thank you for being with Lashley, also known as Grace Levi. I will see you guys later. I'm so silly.